Wow. Let's keep those doors open if we can. If we can leave the doors open, it'd be wonderful. That's just the beginning. You have so much applause. Thank you so very much. It is such a pleasure to be here with so many incredible conductors, singers, teachers, music lovers, and to be in a global environment that is impacting so many audiences, members, and singers around the world. Thank you for having me in the Young People's Chorus of New York City here this afternoon. And thank you to the Yale Alumni Chorus, of which I know many members, to the board of the Arts and Ideas Festival and their entire staff, and of course, the brilliant conductor, Dr. Jeffrey Dama. Thank you so much. In this workshop, I wish to give you a snapshot of what the Young People's Chorus of New York City is doing and hope to inspire you with our work on social responsibility and how we create a community of artistic citizens. I'm going to ask Sky to come read a poem that she created.
Embedded within the threads of America's bright stars are vibrant souls emitting varying hues, beautiful silhouettes gleaming in the fluorescent streetlights. 1,000 dialects soaring freely through the streets, resounding all throughout, hushed and poignant, beautiful amidst the concrete, melodious against white noise. America is fearful in its infancy, yet its inhabitants embody a future filled with sentiments of love in all 1,000 dialects, beautiful in their differences, communal in their message. Its reds morphing into tenderness, its blues emitting liveliness, its whites glowing with resolution, its inhabitants striving for ultimate harmony.
It is the mission of the Young People's Chorus of New York City to provide children of diverse backgrounds with a unique program of music education and choral performance that seeks to fulfill each child's musical potential while creating a model of artistic excellence and harmony that enriches our community. What does it mean? We have a dual mission of both the importance of creating a diverse chorus of children who come from many segments of the social spectrum for the world to see, and an artistically viable, excellent chorus for the world to hear. But recently, we had added a new important tenet, education. Not just artistic education, but also scholastic, meaning everything beyond the music. Private tutoring, SAT and SAT courses, workshops and lectures on everything from financial advice to time management and mentoring. One question I often get is, how do I discover such gifted children? Do all of them come from a strong music background? What kind of families do they come from? And tell us their racial, religious, and social backgrounds. In the early days of the settlers, until the 1960s, children in North America sang in schools and in the church. Music was part of the curriculum. And there was no need for additional school music unless one was studying a private instrument. And in school, it was believed you received all you needed to succeed. During the 60s, and during economic constraints, it began to take a toll on the arts, and it was slowly taken away from school curriculums. First in urban settings, then in rural, and now today they continue to diminish in suburban areas as well. Since then, many wonderful and brilliant community choruses, specifically children's choirs, have been formed around the US, if not around the world. I started the YPC back in 1988. And this year, we are celebrating the 30th anniversary of the founding. Thank you. I was just 4 years old. New York City being a melting pot of so many nationalities and ethnic cultures, I knew then that music was a means to learn of one's own culture through song. It is also a wonderful means of learning about other cultures and the differences and similarities in religion, color, and ethnicity. The physical act of singing the words in another language, the feeling of the rhythms of the people of those cultures can begin conversations. These conversations allow for understanding and can even lead to peacemaking. I formed YPC using music as a means to bring children of diverse backgrounds together to learn the discipline of music making. Rich and poor, black and white, Jewish, Muslim and Christian. It showed that together we could make a better world on stage and off. Music being the one tool that brings us together. Dea?
The tickling feeling of goosebumps raising on my skin as a chord moves from dissonance to consonance while it resolves is one that is unmatched. When the chilly sensation moves up and down my arms, it is like the music we are singing has seeped into me. There is a sort of telepathic communication that is needed when putting together a piece of music. If the shape of the vowels created by our lips don't match exactly, the song falls out of tune. If everyone decides to breathe at the beginning of a bar line, there is no continuation of the phrase. If one person rushes the rhythm, the whole group changes tempo. Because of this, the hardest part becomes trying to collectively turn into a singular voice. Learning how to do this work was something that was woven into many of my childhood experiences. I was born to 2 immigrant parents from Albania who are now citizens. As a child, I would go to work with my mom all the time, which gave me a really strong work ethic. In Albania, people are not born into wealth, nor do they sit around and wait for the lucky day when someone offers them a well-paying job. So, we work hard. My parents never let me forget this. When I was younger, I used to watch people sing and thought talent was all it took to make beautiful music. It was when I really threw myself into the process of making music that I learned what my conductor calls the difference between a child and a young artist. The work ethic I got by emulating my mom as a young girl carried over to the level of artistry that YPC asked of me. Through long hours of rehearsals, the work ethic I received as a result of my Albanian upbringing became something that was respected and noticed, as it had not been in other places. At YPC, we are all valued for each unique background that we bring to the group. In rehearsals, we need as many different kinds of people as possible, otherwise our performance just isn't as good. And much like the composition of our group, our repertoire mimics the diversity we offer. Because of this, we need to learn from the girl who can teach us how to pronounce words in Chinese, or the guy who can teach us how to sing traditional folk music from Bulgaria. For myself, those few moments of chills that I feel on stage are just a small part of my reward. Being able to perform a song without the mistake I made 20 times in a row, knowing I put a few extra hours into fixing it, is far more fulfilling. And when I finally get chills, it is because each individual in our community of artistic excellence sings one note that stacks on top of another to build the tense chord that resolves into something new.
Thank you. I'm also often asked, what is the audition process? How do I measure the music potential of a child who has never taken any kind of music lesson? And what is the end goal for these children? We do have an audition process, but since most children have no prior musical training, we accept nearly all the children who show a healthy voice. What is most important is finding a child with some kind of family support, where we have to just make sure they attend the rehearsals, and we will do everything else. YPC provides whatever support is necessary to see that they attend, not only money for tuition, but also funding for travel, snacks, etc. We expect to give the children a comprehensive choral education, so we need the children to attend in order to receive it. Today, 30 years later, we're reaching over 1,700 young people in New York City, 425 in our core after-school program, and 70 of them are with us today. An additional 1,200 in our in-schools program, 200 in our community programs, and this year we launched YPC National and are already reaching over 300 children in programs in Texas, Minnesota, New Jersey, and this summer we begin our very first summer camp in the Dominican Republic. Thank you. So how can you tell a child's potential? It's very easy. They all have it. It is up to us to help them make sure they realize what they have. So they have no training when they come to us, nor any additional training beyond what we give them usually. This is it. So we have to include everything. Vocal technique, sight reading ability, discipline, lots and lots of dancing. Everything, including even how to shake someone's hand. Most importantly, we teach them to acquire a love of music of all styles, including classical, opera, jazz, gospel, contemporary, folk, and pop. We teach kinesthetically and organically, as well as technically and theoretically. Our core program is based on creating incredible music with each child, but making sure that they receive everything they need in order to come to our rehearsals. They have to want to come. Our retention rate is over 98%. They don't leave. They come back as alumni. You think they come back to your homes when they graduate college? They come back to our program as well. Do you have a job? And we do offer them one. In fact, this summer we have 7 interns working at the Young People's Course in New York City. I also want to say that each year we graduate between 25 and 30 young people. Until today, we are happy to say that 100% of our children are graduating high school on time, 100% of our children are applying to college, 100% of our children are attending college, and over 87% of them are graduating within 4 years in college. Yeah, thank you. And this year, we were able to increase the amount of money we give to our children going to college. This year we offered 4 children $10,000 a year for 4 years, and 1 child $5,000. And right now we have 11 children receiving $10,000 a year to go to college every year because of generous donations that we receive from people, maybe like people like you even. You can talk to me afterwards if you wish. I have business cards. So I was going to go into some of the work that we do and how we reach the musicality that we reach, working through our repertoire, through the vocal techniques and the styles, giving the children the most advanced musicianship possible. All of the children work tirelessly in learning how to read this music, singing over 100 pieces of music a year, and becoming musically independent singers and musicians, so they work with each other. They perform often over, I think this group about 45, but in general, our chorus in total performs in 120 concerts a year. We are very busy and very tired. One of the greatest strengths we have is the ability to do repetition. Repetition is so important to learning. It's like a language. You must do it often. The more performances we have, the more rehearsals we have, the better we are able to do the music. And the philosophy is to teach to the highest learner in the class, not to the middle or to the lowest. Everyone will reach a higher goal if we have a high level set up already. And what the child brings, the assets that they share with us, is where we begin. They contribute their souls and their spirits, and we take it and we go with it. Music, the first piece from Italy, the second piece from Finland, it's because we were introduced to this music from our own families. And of course, the teamwork that goes beyond these children. On stage, they work together to make a beautiful sound. Once they walk off the stage, they hug each other. And it's my job to make sure that the children that they're hugging, because they need them, they need each other, are children from very diverse backgrounds, and they learn from that. I would like to introduce you to Byron.
My parents came to this country to achieve a better life for themselves and for their children. They left Guatemala during a civil war that had been raging since before they were even born. When they came to America, they were full of hopes and dreams, but had few resources. My father worked as a truck driver, and I often wouldn't see him for weeks, even months. But despite these struggles, my parents seized every opportunity they could for my sister and me. Because my parents did not have the opportunity to get an education, they wanted to make sure that their children did. In school, I was not the strongest in academics, but I loved music. I was always a child who would sing to himself and look forward to music class each week. I was never pressured to be strong in academics. However, I always felt the weight of my parents' sacrifices and wanted to honor them. When I was in the 3rd grade, my music teacher chose me to join the Young People's Chorus of New York City. And because I loved to sing, I accepted. But none of us realized the impact this invitation would have on my life. As I walked into my first day of rehearsal, the group was so diverse that I felt as if the entire world was in this room. I was surprised by the number of children my age who were all there to do what I love to do the most, sing. As we began singing and learning choreography, I was amazed by the amount of music there was in the world that I never knew existed. YPC gave me more than artistic experiences, too. They provided me with educational support, including SAT classes where my scores went up greatly. This gave me more confidence as a student, and now I feel strong enough to even apply to college. Next year, I will become a first-generation high school graduate. I will audition for some of America's top music colleges. My parents, who recently became American citizens, constantly brag about me and the unforgettable experiences I have been given through YPC. And when they do brag, I can hear the sense of joy, awe, and pride in their tones. Their son is achieving something they worked for when they came to this country. Their son is living out their dream, and my dreams of becoming a musician will become a reality. Thank you.
Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Alone, away from home.
I believe that all children have equal ability despite their backgrounds and differences. It is up to us to help them find their potential. Of course, some children are naturally more gifted than others sometimes, and this makes my work easier and sometimes more difficult. The children who are gifted, the children are all gifted. They help us to communicate with each other, and they become models. Average children can become great artists if we are able to guide them and teach them how to achieve success. Children who may have an impaired voice or is told one day that their voice is impaired, who may not be able to match pitch, have no rhythm control, cannot dance or move, doesn't matter. We take them all at the Young People's Chorus. Our doors are open, and we make them into great artists. As a teacher, it is our job to figure out how to inspire these children to catch up and be equal so that they, in turn, can have a place in society. Music opens doors that are often closed to poor children or those considered as outsiders. Living in New York City, I see many challenges that children and their families go through. I've seen a change in the children over these past 30 years. They seem to have more pressures now because of expectations, because their families are so involved in their lives, and because of technology. At YPC, we discuss these issues and are trying to find ways to help. We have a student council that explores many social issues through our Vocal Resolutions program. And this past year, we created a way to use music to discuss these issues, and we have been able to ask some incredible composers to write music that has a social impact without being political, which is very important to me. I'd like to welcome Zaria.
The older members of my family always emphasized how important it was to stick together as a race. This came from the mistreatment as a race during the years after slavery was abolished and the struggles of the civil rights movement. Because of my family's influence, when I was younger, I never ventured out to make friends that were different than me. In fact, I barely ever made new friends at all, as I struggled with being bullied by my peers. Other kids would poke fun at me because of the differences between us. I was so overwhelmed by my fear of meeting new people that when my mother brought up auditioning for YPC, I was willing to receive any punishment it took so I wouldn't have to audition to be at YPC. The idea of singing with people who I had never met before was nerve-wracking. Yet, as soon as I walked into the first rehearsal, I was greeted by big smiles and encouragement. I was fascinated by how everyone was so different, but our passion for music was exactly the same. Our common thread was greater than our differences. As the rehearsal went on, I began to make friends that I would continue to grow with. I didn't know it at the time, but these people who I was making music with would become like family. YPC helped me to face my fear of meeting new people and helped me to build confidence in myself. As I grow in the YPC community, I enjoy the constant support and encouragement that I receive from my peers and conductors. This has allowed me to mature in my confidence as a singer and as a young African American teenager. I have come to realize that the group of friends I have made at YPC are just like me. At YPC, it's not about what you look like physically, but about the abilities you have and the different assets you can share, and how we treat each other. We realize that we can learn from our differences, and the only factor making those differences a barrier is ignorance. I bring all that I learn in my time from YPC to my family and teach them the importance of looking past a person's physical appearance. The biggest lesson I will carry with me in my path of life is, my life is my choice, not history's choice.
We're coming toward the end. I want to say we're so excited to be here at the Yale Symposium, and we want to thank the friends who made it possible for us to be invited and work so hard to make this trip such an unbelievable experience. I believe that this summit's mission of bringing choirs from around the world is a way that we should continue to view the power of singing, bringing communities together and building bridges among cultures. I want to discuss the concepts of building community because a few years back, children told me that once they left YPC, society made them choose sides. The idea of diversity became harder. And now, as we face the idea of our place in the world, our place in our country, our place in our city, in our community, our place in our home, I ask myself, does music have the power to change society? Throughout the decades and in many societies, lots of musicians use their lyrics and their voices to stand up for causes. Today, our young people, they want a reason to make a change. They see the arts as a way to sway, to nudge, to influence, to affect. If this is true, what can you do? We celebrate the future through our daily work with our children, and we hope to grow into thousands very soon. However, the children in the program, I expect to have many more ideas, bigger than even the original idea of bringing a few children from diverse backgrounds together 30 years ago. And that's what gets me very excited. I like to sing another song called Shout Glory. Come on in, guys.
Thank you.